You're watching CCN, Clarksville Community Network, produced by Goodwin Productions. Powered by CDE Lightband.
Happy Juneteenth, everybody! Happy Juneteenth, everybody! Look, I'm gonna need all of y'all to say that. Just Happy Juneteenth, run it. Let's get used to saying that.
Welcome to Clarksville, Tennessee's first Juneteenth celebration.
We are here today to commemorate freedom and to celebrate Black culture. We have over 105 vendors, 105 businesses, mostly Black-owned businesses or allied businesses, because again, yes, we're here to celebrate Black culture and engage with Black people in a meaningful way and in a way that does not compromise the Black identity.
This event is everything that I could have imagined. It's so much diversity. We're all here gathering for one mission, and that's just to have fun. Have fun and support each other's businesses.
We can really impact not just our community, but outside of our communities as well. So I'm honored to be a part of this.
That's what today is all about, because about the fact that now that it's a federal holiday, I'm pretty sure we're all gonna enjoy today.
We're here because this is our home. We're proud of you, Clarksville, Tennessee. If you're not here, you're gonna wish you had come.
So for people who don't know what Juneteenth is and never heard of it, it is the day where the last enslaved Africans were set free, 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. So Confederate Soldier Granger went to Texas to let the enslaved persons know that they were free. See, the other slaves were already free, however, they didn't know in Texas. And so by the time the word got to Texas with snail mail, it was already 2 years. It started out with just being a state event in Texas, and as the word began to spread between word of mouth, other states and other African Americans wanted to join in, because then we finally realized, hey, we didn't know this. For a long time, we didn't know about Juneteenth. And so it's so significant to know that even after the Emancipation Proclamation, we still had enslaved persons that wasn't free. So I think this is a big deal, especially to African American community, to know that in June 1865, we were all free. That's the importance.
This definitely will be an annual event, so this will be every year. Black history is American history, so making sure that we are teaching about accurate and comprehensive history in school. So there's so many other additional barriers that we have to cross, but you know what? A small victory is a victory, and we will take it. What's important is this victory will birth so many others.
I'm Dr. Rashida Leverett, and I'm the County Commissioner for here Montgomery County, and I represent District 5. I was modeling what Shelby County did in Memphis. I saw in the paper where they made Juneteenth a paid holiday for their county employees. I wanted to make it a state holiday, but I figured that would be a long shot, and so I called some of the legislators in Shelby County and asked them would they kind of coach me and guide me. And so I went through the legislative process, talked to our county attorney, talked to our county mayor, had it written up to fit the model for Montgomery County, and then presented the bill to the county commission. And we passed with just enough votes to make it law. And so I'm really, really proud of that we were the first to do it, or the second, so to speak. I talked to Councilperson Wanda Allen, and then they made it legislation and made it legal in the city. So this is how Clarksville and Montgomery County had their legal holiday, making Juneteenth a paid holiday for county and city employees. Mayor Dewar was extremely supportive. He said, you know, Commissioner, if you believe in it, go ahead and present it before the commission. So he was extremely supportive from the beginning. Yes, and that helped.
What a great day. And you know, if you look back on history, June 19th, 1865, and here we are 156 years later celebrating it here in Montgomery County, Tennessee. So I want to say thanks to our County Commission for recognizing this holiday.
In September 2020, Juneteenth became an official county holiday here in Montgomery County.
I think we set the bar, and now we just saw President Biden did the same thing. So I just hope everybody has a wonderful Juneteenth, and this is just an awesome festival, and I'm honored to be here.
We did this for you because we love you, and as Juanita would say, we deserve to be seen and not viewed. Happy Juneteenth, everybody!
I was surprised. I was just looking at my phone. I was like, Joe Biden signs a bill. Juneteenth is a federal holiday. I never expected this to happen.
The bill went up there, next thing you know, the bill was signed. We was like, okay.
Honestly, they've been passing over it for decades now, so I just figured it would just be another one of those things where they push to the side. So we're glad that it has become a federal holiday, but we do understand that this is not the end-all be-all. That's what this Juneteenth festival is about, and that's what Juneteenth is about. Again, just commemorating freedom and celebrating our culture.
All the credit for this event. I'll say yes, I helped to pass the legislation, but it's so interesting because I had the support of Manifest Magic Black Girl Cooperative, who is led by Juanita Charles. And the day after the legislation was passed, Juanita and the ladies at Manifest Magic got together and put all of this in place. So what you're seeing here is almost a one-year planning session.
Today is June 19th, 2021, and this is Clarksville's inaugural Juneteenth Festival hosted by Manifest Magic Black Girl Cooperative. My name is Juanita Charles, and I'm the founder of Manifest Magic Black Girl Cooperative, which is a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to the empowerment of Black women. This event ties into our mission because it gives us the ability to show up in our authenticity and thrive without barriers. So when you're in this space, celebrating Juneteenth, celebrating Black culture, this is the space where you can authentically be you and allow others to engage with you and see you as you are without compromising who you are. We have a health and wellness space over there, so we have doctors and other health professionals who are here to give free medical checkups, but also to talk about the things that disproportionately affect the Black community. We have the art gallery, again featuring Black art by Black artists or art that is centered on the Black experience. We have games, so when we talk about recreation and leisure, we have spades, dominoes, bid whist. Obviously, it's not something that only Black people do, but it's something that we do, like that's our thing. So when you come here, this is your opportunity to engage in a way that maybe some people haven't.
Thank you, Clarksville. I'd love to thank Manifest Black Girl Magic, Miss Juanita Charles, for putting together this event. 2 legislators made the holiday happen. However, she and Manifest Magic are the ones that deserve the applause because this is an amazing event.
I really just want to acknowledge Juanita Charles for being the visionary behind this whole Juneteenth. She's an incredible woman who has influenced not just our community, but really just setting the stage, setting the standard, because I'll tell you, she influenced our city to establish Juneteenth as an official holiday before it happened on a federal level, and I think that that's important to note.
Look, y'all, we got to pause for a picture. You know how we do. Hold on.
I'm storyteller Tammy Hall. I tell stories professionally. I live in New York City, but when I found out about my hometown, I was so proud. I knew I had to be here. So I contacted Juanita Charles, and I said, I have to be here, and she says, please come. So today I'll be hosting several of the dance pieces. I'll be telling stories here and there in honor of Juneteenth and tales of Black liberation and tales of how we celebrate. We're going to lead a drum procession to the stage, and that is where the dance performances will begin. The drums were the originators of calling the community together, and especially for ceremonial practices. So that's why it's very important that we are starting with the drums today. We'll be carrying the two flags. One is the red, black, and green flag, which is the African liberation flag that unifies all people of African descent. And also we'll be carrying the red, white, and blue flag for Juneteenth.
We are here today performing for the Juneteenth event. We were invited here by Manifest Magic Black Girl Cooperative. I have brought my dancers from Full Effect Visual and Performing Arts Center, and we're going to be doing an African processional with the drums, and then we have 3 pieces that are near and dear to our heart that will be performing out here as well. We are a local nonprofit dance studio in the city that is committed to exposing the youth, specifically the underprivileged and underserved, to the arts. Currently we train in ballet, jazz, lyrical, hip hop, tap. This is our first public event, and we're excited about that. We've been working very hard, so we're excited about our first event. So the city gets to kind of see who we are. We're still kind of making a name for ourselves, so we're excited. To keep it easy for my students, we decided just for them to take some of their recital pieces. So they're bringing kind of like an Afro-Latina piece with Gloria Estefan and the Miami Sound Machine. That is our jazz. Then our lyrical is going to be doing A Woman's Worth. So it's an interpretive piece. We've got 2 interpretive pieces, and then we've got one kind of celebratory to kind of get the crowd up and hype. The reasons that we have done this event is, one, we want to definitely break down racial and cultural barriers. And again, I mean, we live in a city, and really in a state and a nation where we say we're very diverse, but we're diverse in that we have a bunch of people from different backgrounds that live here, but very seldom do we actually interact. So when we talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, this is something that has to be very intentional, which is how this event was put together, very intentionally. When you talk about celebrating somebody's culture, you have to really engage with their culture. Culture meaning their literature, their art, their entertainment, their recreation, all of those different things, and that's what this festival encompasses. We have a literature space, our voices space, where we have a bunch of Black authors and a lot of works that are written by Black authors or based on the Black experience.
So I am here curating this space, Our Voices, which is a hub for Black authors. It's such an important space because historically, there was a time when Black people were forbidden to even read. It was a thing where it was punishable by a beating or death. And so to be in an age and a time where we can actually collectively publish writings, it's a beautiful and powerful thing. I've channeled that by helping authors write more books, how to self-publish those, and to really empower them to compete with those larger publishing firms, empowering them that you can do it yourself and you can have the quality and the impact that you expect from any book that you see on a typical retail bookshelf.
We're here because we are the authors of the Zodiac's Qualum and the Shadow Walker. Our pen name is D.G. Johnson. We're from Omaha, Nebraska, but he's in the military and we traveled here. The book is an action-packed, adventure, sci-fi, young adult book that you can get into. It's a 5-book series.
We started this book about 3 years ago, and as we went along, it just grew and grew and grew until we were like, let's make a book out of it. So we started writing, we started looking for artists to design the characters, the crest symbols, that you see that represent each zodiac, also finding a publisher. And within about 2 years, we had the first version of it published, which was February of last year. Then after going back and forth and doing a little bit of editing and professional editing, we got the second version put out as well.
It was all based off of the fact that a long time ago that there was actually a 13th zodiac sign. In our book, they banished him and now he's back for revenge and he's ready to get the qualum, which is in the middle. He's ready to get the book and he's ready to just wreak havoc on everybody for banishing him for so many years. We just really want to get it out there because you don't see a lot of this. You don't see a lot of action-packed books with characters that look like us. And so it was very important for us to do that and get it to where young people can read it, and like the people that love anime, that love Harry Potter, that love Percy Jackson, that like any of those type of series books can just dive in and enjoy it.
Today is representing historical Juneteenth, and I am here representing Positive Images and Associates, one of my companies, and I am an author of 10 books. I was working hand in hand with Commissioner Rashida Leverett, who championed this cause, and so I knew of the backdrop on everything that was happening, even before the official bill was signed by President Biden. So I was aware of the activities and wanted to really be involved and engage, and to be a part as a vendor, but also to meet and interact with a lot of people here. As I mentioned, I have 10 books out, and so I wrote my first book, which is called The Hidden Curriculum, Life Lessons You Won't Learn in the Classroom. So a little bit about my story. I went from drug trafficking to getting a doctorate degree. So I got a second chance in life, was able to go back to college, and that happened at 20, and by the time I was 26, I had 4 degrees and was dean of a university. And so people ask me, how do you go from one extreme to another? And I talk about what is called these hidden curriculum opportunities that you never learn in the classroom, which is why I wrote this book here. So one of the reasons I wrote the children's books is one, from the different books that you have here, is because a lot of pebble issues as kids, if they're not addressed, then they become situations as it relates to where those pebbles turn into rocks, those rocks turn into stones, and those stones turn into boulders that hinder our growth and progression. As well as, just to be candid, I wrote it because there are not a lot of African American males who write children's books, to be able to focus in on that area. So for me, was to operate in a proactive manner. If I could go ahead and teach kids about who am I and loving themselves and self-identity, then as adults, some of the challenges that we have, they necessarily would not have those challenges. As I talked about in my story, getting a second chance when you be able to empower and touch someone else's lives, to be able to progress and be able to move forward. So that was part of my reasons of why I wrote my 10 books out. And I've been blessed. Like I said, they're in 45 countries. I have the ability to sell a couple of 100,000 books over this period of 10 years. Well, today I am a vendor at the Juneteenth festival, where all of these vendors are here, and I'm so thankful to be one of them. I have my model tire here, and we're just creating one of those looks that you can go anywhere with. It's super simple, super quick, and in this heat, it's very lightweight, and you can do whatever in it, and it just feels comfortable on the skin. I'm not a glitter person, I'm not a cut crease person. I'm very strategic on the looks that I create and the products that I use to create those looks, so my work is distinct. So if somebody sees my work, they'll know that's Carlos's work. I was in college, and it was something that, you know, I saw other people doing. You know, the females, they would do it to go out or just have fun, and I'm like, hey, maybe I should try that. Maybe I should, you know, try it on my friends. So I did it one day, and then it was horrible. Oh, it was the worst thing I've ever done, but I did it, and I kept on doing it, and I persevered, and I stayed at it, and it just became a passion of mine. Originally, I'm from Maryland, but I was in the military, so the military moved me around a bit. I was actually stationed here, Fort Campbell, and then I went to Germany for a little bit, and then I came back here. And then once I got out the military, I went to Orlando, you know, grew my artistry. After that, I came back and my business was like growing exponentially, so it was awesome. I loved it. So I didn't know about this event when I found out about the event maybe like 2 weeks ago, and I had no idea that this was a thing. And once I found out what it was, because of how important Juneteenth is to our community, I said, I have to get into that. There's artists in the area, but I feel like what I value in the beauty community isn't around, you know? So I feel like I bring some innovative art, some innovative personality to the community that I felt like I needed to be a part of it, to share my craft, to share my knowledge, and to bring the beauty community here. So it's honestly amazing. The most amazing thing I've ever been a part of.
Clarksville is my hometown. I was born here in 1959. My family goes back here 6 generations. My mother, Virgie Mallory, is inside. She's 95 years old. I have 2 sisters here inside, Dr. Joanne Burgess, who is an author, and another sister, Jeanette Mallory Price, who's also an author and a championship crossbow shooter who represented the U.S. a few years ago in Budapest.
I'm glad to see this. When I first heard about it, I thought about it, and then when my sister said, well, Jeanette, you should, by the time she said you should, I said I'll be there. I grew up here in Clarksville, and I left home when I was 17. I moved to Washington, D.C. I lived and worked there, and I retired from the federal government. Then I got into archery, and I started traveling the world. I was hanging around with this guy, and he was shooting archery. But then I saw this older gentleman who was shooting a different type of bow, which was the crossbow. So I said, I like that bow. And I started practicing on that bow. And then finally, the gentleman told me, why don't you come on here and shoot in tournament with me? And I did. And I started winning tournaments, and then I finally won a spot on the world team, which I represented the United States in Budapest in 1998. And there I came in 24th in the world. Shot the second highest score for the United States. And since then, I've been teaching archery. So now the interesting thing about the crossbow is that we have no magnification, and that's by law. That's our team shoot. That's the actual crossbow team. Well, there are very few crossbow shooters in the world. And of course, I'm the only African American that shoots to compete with the crossbow. This is called a Queen's round. And what we do with the Queen's round is that all of the ladies shoot at the little targets. And the ones who hit the targets the most time was called the Queen. So in this particular year, I was the Queen.
I am here because I've recently had this book released, The Odyssey of Burt High School, the evolution of education of a small high school in a small southern town, and that town is Clarksville, Tennessee. 2 weeks ago when they invited me to come, before it was a federal holiday, I agreed to come. I was honored to come. This book is about education from the time that Tennessee was established. So in order to write the book, I had to establish Tennessee, Clarksville, before we can talk about Burt High School. Now the reason Burt is a significant name because he was a doctor that traveled from Kosciuszko, Mississippi, through Meharry, back to Clarksville, and built the first hospital in this town for everyone. He treated everyone, all races. When I retired, I attended a reunion for the Burt High School Reunion Association, and I thought someone needs to document this history, because not only did Burt High School service the black people in Clarksville, it serviced all of the black people in the surrounding counties. And then there were significant people in this town who were not black, like Judge Cunningham and others, who made it a point to make sure that all children had an opportunity to go to high school. So this book starts with education from the time of slavery. It talks about Harriet Tubman. It talks about Frederick Douglass. And it talks about the changes they went through. But then it also talks about the people who helped the Underground Railroad, who were not black. There were a lot of non-black people who helped the process of education to evolve to the point that black children and black people could get an education. Because at first it was against the law for black people to learn to read and write. Then they thought about how they came from Africa. They came with ideas, they came with knowledge. So that is the reason I decided the history of the evolution of education needed to be documented. And I don't know why, but for some reason I was the one to document it. So the publisher, Doris Publishing Company, when the marketing department got this book, they said this book needs to be in the Library of Congress. So 2 copies of this book is in the Library of Congress. We interviewed a lot of people who went through the process of having to walk to school, rain, sleet, or snow, 100-degree weather. And all 8 grades were in one room and had one teacher. But we have live testimonies of people who had that experience when education was in its early days. We traveled from Mississippi all the way to Canada to document how education evolves. And it took 15 years to get it done. So when we went to Canada, Canada has now built a school and named it Harriet Tubman. And they have the North Star in their gym. And they have a lot of information. And they had very high prices out for her head. They wanted her. But she never lost the battle.
It's very emotional for me right now to see all of us out here, all mixed, all shades, all everything out here enjoying this day. Not only is it a city holiday, it is now a federal holiday, and that needs to be celebrated. Today, we need to celebrate.
Look how Clarksville comes and supports. This is amazing. We definitely are one of the premier cities. I don't care what anybody says, we're a premier city. We're just so glad to be a part of history, you know? This is history in the making.
We need to ensure that as we have pressed for this holiday and we've gotten that we also continue to press forward for anti-lynching bills, to make sure that they stop gutting the voter rights bills, to make sure that they are teaching about our history. Having Juneteenth as a federal holiday is amazing. It's awesome, but it's just a stepping stone.
They took the egg of a bachelor eagle, put it in the barnyard. When the eagle came out, all it saw were the hens and the other chickens. For 4 years, that's how it lived. Now this is a bird that is genetically destined to fly higher than the Freedom Towers in New York City, until it was brainwashed that it could only do the things that chickens could do. We humans have the ability to change our lives by changing our thinking. So anything that chains you down, anything that prevents you from being the best that you can be, you must have it loosed. Release all chains.
For current and exclusive content, subscribe to CDE Lightband, connecting you at the speed of light.